what would a panel or what would an event be without talking about mining? We have a very unique approach to mining, and we're going to find out a little bit about what mining is all about. Is there a chance for all of you to still get into mining, or is it already bypassed you? So we're going to address that. And then we have a very, very unique solution for payments using geolocation. So you're walking down the street and you can get coin, you can get discounts, all just for being on this application. So we've got a very packed schedule here, so why don't we start out? I will obviously be standing. What I'd like to do is I'd like to start out this discussion by painting the landscape of what's out there in terms of crypto hedge funds. So as we move from person to person, I'll do the introduction, and then we'll launch right into them answering the question. So we have from BitBull, Joe DiPasquale. Is Joe here? So I picked the first guy I picked is the guy that's not on the panel. Okay. So you know, Joe has an interesting story. He's not as tall as the rest of us, but we'll make do. So Joe is the sitting man, sitting bull, BitBull, and what Joe is going to tell us about is he's going to paint the landscape of what's out there, because that's all he does all day is he looks at all the managers and finds the great managers, those that are returning what the investors are looking for. But how did you come to wanting to do this? Because not all of us can do due diligence on thousands of funds, and apparently there are quite a few out there. So tell us what your story is in terms of why you decided to form this research operation to recommend the best funds.
Sure. Hi, Bart. Thanks. So my name's Joe DiPasquale with BitBull Capital. I guess my story, I was living in New York up to, 2004, did investment management, investment banking, moved to Silicon Valley for business school at Stanford and got into venture capital, and then got into crypto in 2013, started investing myself when the founder of the Silk Road was apprehended in a San Francisco public library. It was huge news. There was a Bitcoin dip, bought the dip, and then diversified after that. For me, with my own money, what I wanted to do was to get into active management. I think perhaps on the panel we'll talk about, you can certainly buy an index in stocks or in crypto, and go up in Q4 and down in Q1, or you can kind of use an active manager who does that more frequently, essentially, or uses other strategies. But what I wanted to do was, I believe in active management in crypto. At the time, this was a year ago, there were about 20 hedge funds. Now, you may know there are 342 crypto hedge funds. And they use many different strategies. Some are on the risky side. Some do only pre-ICO investing. Some are on the very less risky side. Some do only arbitrage investing, like just simply buying inefficiencies in a market-neutral strategy. So what I wanted to do with my money is have a balanced basket of funds, and so that's when I started researching all the 342 funds, and that's what got me into BitBull.
So we're going to get back to BitBull and basically crawl to another level in order to find out what are the strategies that are actually working in this cryptocurrency world. Is it a long only? Is it a market neutral? Is it a long short equity? But we're going to get back to Joe. Now, we also have a very interesting concept. So let's say you're an investor and you're looking for a fund. You don't want to go interview 1,000 funds, but what you would like to do is have one simple resource where you can go through and look at funds that have been investigated, have been checked off, and are legitimate funds to actually invest in. And for that, we have actually one of the sponsors, if you look right in the middle there, Darc Matter, and we have Natasha Bansgopaul. Did I say that right? Probably close, right? Close enough? Okay, great. And she is a co-founder and chief operating officer of Darc Matter. What is Darc Matter? What's the definition of Darc Matter? Not the don't tell me about the company. What is Darc Matter?
Actual dark matter.
The
astrophysics term of dark matter. Yeah, so
final frontier. Is that dark matter?
it pretty much, yes. Dark matter with a K makes up over 78% of the world or the universe. The atmosphere, the universe. Can everyone hear me? Yes. Oh, yes, exactly. It's kind of like echoing like dark matter. But the reality of dark matter, the physics term, is that people don't really know what it is. We just know that it's there, it's present, and we're still trying to figure out exactly what it does. That is kind of akin to what we built the platform for. So Dark Matter with a C is our platform, and we are a global award-winning fintech platform that connects traditional fund managers raising capital with investors in the US and Asia who are interested in investing in alternative fund products. So essentially, the platform itself just makes the process much more easier, more transparent, more efficient, and cuts down on costs for fund managers looking for investors and makes the process easier for investors looking for quality funds.
Right, and the great thing is that they do a lot of due diligence. They do the AML, the anti-money laundering, the know your customer. So there's a lot of work that they take out of your due diligence process. So definitely a needed item when you're looking for an established fund that you can add to an institutional, let's say, portfolio. We also have, and let me see if I get this right, we have a maximalist fund manager, a crypto fund manager, and he's going to explain what the heck does he mean by maximalist. And he is a fund manager, so you can invest in his fund, but he has certain limitations that he will and will not do. But tell us what a maximalist fund is first, and we'll get into the details later. And you have a microphone right there. Go ahead.
Can everybody hear me? All right, great, fantastic. So we actually, we're a cryptocurrency hedge fund, HODL Capital, which executes a Bitcoin maximalist plus investment thesis. So our opinion is that this is all about Bitcoin at the end of the day. We wouldn't be here talking about blockchain or fintech more broadly. Bitcoin has really invented the entire space and continues to be the most relevant implementation of this technology. Most of the cryptocurrencies out there, we have upwards 5,000. 99% of them are, quite frankly, either intentionally or unintentionally scams. They don't work, they don't do what they're supposed to do. So we start with the technology first. We diligence the open source software and then go from there. We look at how monetary
So
policy works.
when you look at a fund, what's not important is whether or not you have a famous actor as one of the members of the committee. You all know what I'm talking about. But that you actually first look at the underlying technology, and is the technology viable? So you have technology experts who can say, this is a mechanics that will actually work and function and be successful. So that's how you really look at a coin or a token.
So our equity research analysts, if you could call them that, are software engineers and systems engineers, software developers. You're not diligencing a board. You don't have income statements and balance sheets to look at. So you have to start with the technology itself. I'd go a step further and say, if a cryptocurrency has a managing team or a company behind it, it's defeating the purpose of cryptocurrencies more broadly.
So Joe DiPasquale, have you looked at his fund?
We actually were just talking about it today.
Okay, so he's the guy that would do the research on his hedge fund. Okay.
We'll talk.
And then but how do you find Joe? Well, you find Joe through Dark Matter, because Dark Matter has a listing of not only funds, but I would say that you probably have fund of funds listed somewhere in Dark Matter. In the Dark Matter, in space.
Equity funds, venture capital funds, and crypto funds are the new asset class.
Okay,
thank you. And crypto funds are the new asset class. We'll be putting it up.
There she goes. There she's. I've lost control already. Thank you.
Oh yeah, and Natasha Bansgopaul is my name.
Bansgopaul. All right. Well, thank you for that. It took a while.
There's a car.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, we have transactions being done real time here on the panel. Jolly, we had a little discussion earlier, and unlike the previous fund we just talked about, the maxillofacial fund, you invest in a different way in your fund. You're not really a coin guy. You don't get into the actual coins. There's something else that you do because you think that you can generate better returns on a monthly basis for your investor by doing something other than actually taking a HODL position in a coin. Is that right? Did I get that right?
I'd say that's partially right.
Okay, well, I'm stabbing at it.
Look, I love the technology side, right? Like, I've spent most of my life deep in computer security. That's how I got started in crypto. My fingers are permanently curved inwards. Like, I can geek out on the tech all day long, and I love that.
So yes, you guys should hang out in Google Hangouts or something.
Exactly. But so as much as I will absolutely look at the fundamental underlying technology when it comes to evaluate it, the truth is that's definitely not all of my investment thesis. Because one of the key things isn't, does the technology work? It's, is there an asymmetric risk to reward ratio when I make a purchase And with long.
So explain that asymmetric. How does that? You mean it's not a linear? It's an asymmetric.
No, that's
it's
simple.
It's coming in from all angles.
No,
what is
it's
that?
pretty simple. It's like when I buy something, I want to make sure that if I buy it, I think there's way more upside than there is downside. And then the other thing I'm thinking there is
Asymmetric meaning that there's more likelihood that your investment will go up versus down, which
Exactly.
is, of course, everybody's desire. But you
that's
do it
everyone's
better.
desire, but the question is just how much is that difference? And then the second part for me is what's the time horizon? So I think you and I'd probably agree. In case I was going to invest in something via fundamentals, then yes, I love Bitcoin. And in case someone was like, oh, I need to make some investments today and I'm looking to not look at it for a couple of years, what would you suggest I buy? Bitcoin would definitely be a very key part of that portfolio. But that's not my goal. My goal is how do I maximize the returns, because that's ultimately why.
So you're
my investments-
maximizing your greed.
That is what my investors pay me to do.
I'm just trying to be honest here.
I'm completely
okay.
with that.
You know, let's
I
get
run a
down to the brass
nonprofit on the
tacks.
side that accepts Bitcoin donations. That's the not greedy side. But
Gotcha.
as an investment management, absolutely.
Right. Gotcha. We have, there's another, okay, so I said earlier that we were going to talk about a subject that I think is, we're all interested in it. I don't know how many of us have actually made a commitment or a first step to doing it. Some people do it on their cell phones. Some people do it on other people's website, which I think is a little bit funny. But we do have a miner here. And tell me, is mining over for the individual working out of their dorm room and firing up all these rigs to heat their dorm room and then at the same time make a couple of bucks mining some currency?
Not at all.
Not at all. Oh my God, there's hope for the rest of us. Tell us about that.
Well, I mean, obviously, there's always new stuff coming out on the market consistently. And yes, there are a lot of problems with spam or bad coins coming on the market. But for every bad coin, you're going to have at least a small percentage of a good coin. And the key is to do the homework and find something that's going to solve a real world problem. There are a lot of problems that still need to be solved using blockchain technology. And it's a matter of just doing your homework and digging and finding these small guys and finding out, do you really believe that they can do what they're saying, and can they actually pull it off?
So mining other than Bitcoin.
Well, correct. Even mining Bitcoin is still a doable thing. But for a guy in a dorm room, they're not going to be able to run an ASIC. Those things are very loud and stuff. But they can do GPU mining. They can build them a gaming computer. And
So GPU, as in general processor unit, which is the unit that you get with a PC. An ASIC is a specialized chip designed specifically to mine Bitcoin. Did I get that
Correct.
right?
Yes.
Okay.
So, the concept is that I still believe that there's a lot more growth to be done in this. We probably only have a 1 or 2% adaptation of the entire globe looking at this.
Didn't
so it's
you
still very
recently have a client of yours buy a machine and mine and make money?
So, actually, it was my grandfather.
Your grandfather. Okay, that's fair. That's fair game. Be gentle.
My grandfather is 90 years old, and he wanted a new computer, and he came and asked me to help him with it. And I said, well, why don't we just get you a better computer that can do more, and I'll show you how it can make money for you. He looks at me like I'm crazy. It takes me about a month to convince him of this. But so then we finally get him an Alienware gaming machine, and he's sitting there playing his little card game on it. But in the background, we show him how to set it up to mine. And I was teaching him how to speculation mine at the time, because they only have one card.
Speculation mine meaning predicting where the money's going to come from specific coins. So you're speculating in terms of what coin you pursue.
You're right. You're trying to find the next hot coin, like
Gotcha.
somebody that obviously Bitcoin is solving the store of wealth issue.
Yep.
But there's plenty of other issues that need to be solved, and you're attempting to find those while they're early stages.
So what happened
and
with your
support them.
grandfather?
So he took a $1,200 computer, and I believe he made about $10,000 on it in about 6 months last
And
summer.
this was last year?
Yeah, last year,
Okay.
last summer time frame.
But you're saying those opportunities still exist?
They still exist. You just have to do your homework.
Okay.
Just like penny stocks. I mean, you hear people, our President Donald Trump, how did he make his money? Penny stocks. He did his homework and find one that would grow and go from there.
Okay, that's great. And that's Rahdi Fakhoury of Folium.io. And we're going to talk more about another dimension of what he's doing. That is protecting the environment while mining. And he's going to talk a little bit how he does that. And now I'd like to, okay, so we also talked about payments. Again, you're walking down Fifth Avenue, all of a sudden you have set your iPhone to buzz when a good deal comes along. So you're walking down 5 Ave. Let's say you walk past Hollister Everybody and their brother seems to have a Hollister shirt. And it basically comes up on your screen and it says, hey, walk into Hollister on the next block and you'll get a 20% discount plus 10% of our coin that you can then turn in for money and discounts. Did I get that right, Marshall?
Very close.
Okay,
Very
so
close.
but the concept is it's real time and it's geolocation to give you discounts when you walk down the street. And you have what, 50,000 vendors on there already? So you're ready to go now?
We're ready to go.
That's
so
crazy.
It's live in the App Store for iOS and Android. And to your point
And
earlier,
I said that's crazy because
technology
his
works.
company's called CrayPay, and apparently in this millennial speak, Cray. Am I right? Cray is crazy. That's a millennial, and he just proved me right. See, I'm cool. I know 2 words now: HODL and Cray. I'm moving at lightning speed here. So Marshall, does this actually work?
Yeah, you can download it and use it today. As we were here, I kind of flipped through, and within 3 miles of where we are right now is about 37 retail locations that accept it.
Okay. All right,
So,
fantastic.
Yeah, you can go make a payment. You'll save anywhere from 0.5% to 11% right off the bat, right off in cash savings, and then we'll add the 10% crypto as what we're doing with our coin.
Okay. And how are you getting some good brand acceptance? How would I know that this even exists? Because I want my discounts when I walk by the Nike store to get a new pair of sneakers for my my marathons.
Yeah, big part of what we were doing
Haven't run a marathon in a while,
the last 3 years is we've been building the merchant network and building the back-end system. So we settle to them in fiat. So Best Buy participates, Barnes & Noble, Chili's, Domino's, Banana Republic, and they will participate in the token because we settle to them in their fiat. So for them, it's the same as if you paid us on a credit card.
So why not? Why wouldn't you? If you're going to buy something anyway, why get into your network and then I guess you make recommendations based on what people have purchased in the past, and you can turn it off, turn it on when you like.
Yes, we have in-app notifications. We also have behavioral data that makes it relevant. So we're not pushing every time you pass a merchant, since there are so many that you're going to walk past while our app is running in the background.
Right.
So we push only those that are relevant to behaviors based on time, geolocation, and previous patterns of spending.
Right. Okay. Let's move to Ethereal.
It's EtheraLabs.
It's a lab.
No
Okay.
trademark infringements there, by the way. But I run a New York City-based venture studio and venture lab.
So you're the guy that would invest in all of these ideas.
Absolutely.
And maybe even
in
a fund.
fact, Marshall is one of our clients and investments that we make.
One of your victims.
That's
Okay.
right. So we brought him in, and we're really trying to help change the narrative across the institutional landscape with a lot of these innovative companies. So
So are you disrupting the VC world?
well, in a way,
unique
because
And
we're
how are you disrupting it though?
Well, we are really bringing these companies to market and
Okay.
are staying with them kind of through the entire life cycle, not only the investment life cycle, but through adoption and out into the marketplace. This is a very, very complicated, tricky regulatory landscape for these companies that are going through the early stage, I would say, pain points of, figuring out how to run their own sale and get to market. And it's been a little bit more than trial and error. We really use data as kind of, some main points in the way that we look at these companies. And again, building our proficiency across the technical landscape right now is really all about understanding what these companies actually do at the end of the day and how their tokens work. And then we can articulate that. We're also building a decentralized search engine called Plato as an open repository, really to kind of create investment communities that can openly access information and kind of drive, investments into these companies.
So it sounds a little bit like dark matter in terms of listing opportunities to invest
We may
in.
be a little darker than dark matter.
And then you have, so you're a little bit more opaque. Okay.
SEC regulated.
You're deep.
Well, I am also a licensed investment banker, but don't hold that against me. I've been in the investment banking space for close to 10 years right now, and as much as I've hopped around between investment banks, the culture there is really not kind of what I gravitated to. So, being somewhat autonomous and independent is, really about driving the equation.
I've got a question for you. So last year was the heyday of ICOs. This year, there seem to be almost as many ICOs. But I think it's getting to be a little bit more of a challenging environment as investors, LPs find the need for a little bit more information, more due diligence, and more, I don't know, what do I say, institutional quality presentations. Are you seeing that? What are you seeing? How has the ICO market changed since last year?
Well, we purposely kind of avoided the second coming of the ICO in the beginning of 2017 because of the regulatory ambiguity there. So we see a lot more enterprise-level companies trying to unlock the potential of blockchain. Which we think
existing companies
right
are
now
jumping on board because they see the financial opportunity.
They
Okay.
are, and they're not just using this to raise capital at the end of the day, but really to kind of drive the efficiency of their technologies across their marketplace. So this is going to start to spawn M&A in the marketplace right now, where really intelligence is going to be key, and being able to kind of sectorize the market across the pockets that these companies sit in.
So it's almost like these companies see an opportunity not only to raise money but to up their game. Now, isn't that what Dark Matter is doing for a certain extent? Because Dark Matter's been around for a few years. I remember you from about 3 or 4 years ago
When we first started
when
off.
I think we did a little deal at the Battle of the Quants, the
Yes.
greatest
What a
quant
wonderful event. What a wonderful
globally.
event.
But you see this new world,
Yeah.
and you want to move into this new world. So how does basically a company that's been around sees this opportunity?
Yeah.
How are you adjusting to get into this blockchain world?
Yeah, so I think the first thing that we'd say is that it definitely is a scary space where there is little to no regulation, which is why we are also big proponents of driving regulation. We are a fan of regulation and we welcome it to this space. Because even as we see more discussions on regulation start to pop up, we're seeing a lot of the riffraff back out, and a lot of the people who aren't qualified to be in this space kind of stop pursuing the ICO space. Where established companies come in, so we've been around for about 3.5 years, and we exist as a fintech platform. So distributed ledger technology and blockchain technology as a whole was always something that was on our product roadmap, but was not anywhere near close to the timing right now. Given the opportunity, we accelerated that, and essentially it still makes very much sense for our core business and our vision, which is really to continue to use technology to make more efficiencies happen within financial services and increase transparency. So for some companies, it makes complete sense to go for ICOs and use it as a way to build up your technology, talk to an additional user base, expand, what your efforts are there. But with that being said, not everybody needs a blockchain solution, and it doesn't make sense for everyone. So given our business, it makes complete sense because just automation of things such as, any of the subscription process that you can build into smart contracts, any capital calls, redemptions, etc. There's really a lot of opportunity to increase efficiencies using blockchain technology, specifically within this industry.
Yeah, I think it's very interesting that you moved up your schedule based on the speed with which this new technology is starting to penetrate all aspects of the financial community.
Yeah, and I think also with that, it's also important that we know that this industry itself is slow to change, right? And I think it's important that companies start making headways. Financial services in general, yes, sorry, not technology. No, blockchain industry, yeah, completely exempt. Financial services.
Well, I don't think financial services have a choice now.
Well, that's
if they don't change, they are going to be disrupted by an unbelievable amount of new firms that are coming out.
Exactly. And even 3-4 years ago, when we started talking to people and saying, we're going to put your data room online and we're going to put your due diligence documents on the internet, we would get laughed out the room and told compliance will never let this go. Like, you're never going to make it here. Those same guys are coming back to us and asking us to get on the platform because they can no longer ignore the opportunity.
Great.
So
Thank
I think
you.
it just shows how the industry is moving in that
Absolutely.
direction.
I think that's fascinating. Let's get back to Sitting Bull. I'm sorry, BitBull.
BitBull, Bitcoin bull
A
market.
little comedy there, lighten it up a little bit. All right, so Joe has something to say.
Yeah, I
Without
wanted to-
questioning?
Well,
You're going to take it on your own?
I actually, you guys say the question you want, so I'm going to say.
Joe, you're a good guy. Take it away.
All right. I was just going to quickly comment on the ICO market because I get a lot of investors breathlessly coming up to us and us or every funds and wanting ICO exposure. So ICOs are the most risky thing. It's essentially almost an angel investment, and that's what a lot of people like about crypto is that it's giving you this venture capital-like economics, but with immediate liquidity, right? So it's very attractive. But on the other hand, and I know funds that have multiple funds. They have an ICO fund, and they have just a general digital asset strategies fund. Their digital asset strategies performs better, but their ICO fund is more AUM because everybody wants the lottery ticket. So I just would caution everyone to have an ICO as a small portion of your portfolio, 15%, 20% of your total crypto portfolio. For me, it's about 15%. And I also would just let you know that the same things that we've seen in venture capital are happening with ICOs. So what I mean by that is that the select, group of investors, like for example, Telegram raised 1.7 billion from 200 investors, right? And we've seen the one ICO I saw at Consensus this week. It was in a hotel room from a fund. They were just having investors come and meet with them. They're doing a close round, and so kind of, I guess what I'm saying is, it mirrors the venture capital dynamics where there's just few people who have access to the best pricing, and you should just be aware of that. And that's actually part of what active managers do. So just wanted to caution people about ICOs. It's very risky. If you don't own Bitcoin, don't do an ICO.
Was that 15% inclusive of a coin investment, like a Bitcoin, Ethereal, or Monero, or?
No.
does that
So
be on top of
it's
that?
so let's say you take your crypto portfolio. For me, what it is, I do about 20% quantitative strategies, market neutral quant, not including 5% arbitrage, 15% to 20% in ICOs, about 30% in like event driven or day trading, and then 30% kind of buy and hold protocol decisions for me, for my portfolio.
And there
That's
goes
what I
all your
would-
money.
Because your 1% of your total portfolio is crypto. It may become 10% of your total portfolio in a year, and then you sell. But last year, if you would have invested 1% of your total portfolio in crypto instead of just the S&P, in the S&P you would have made 20%. If you do 1%, and like let's say Eureka Hedge's active management index, you would have made 40% overall instead of 20%. So it's a small diversification, outsized rewards, small diversification.
I've got one more, and this is the question I wanted you to answer, which is, you look at all the strategies. What are of all the strategies that you look at in the crypto world, what are the strategies that are the most popular, and what are the ones that are yielding the highest return? Can you give me sort of a picture of that? Doesn't have to be specific, but what are you seeing as being, where does everyone put their money in the crypto world in terms of active management?
Okay, so the most popular is ICOs, as we discussed. People love the lottery tickets. What returns the best is completely dependent on the market situation. Q4, crypto went up hundreds of percent in value. Q1, it went down about 50% in value. So it's very volatile. So that's why for me, I like different strategies. It depends on your own outlook as an investor. Do you want a steady, there are a lot of inefficiencies in crypto right now, which is why active management can outperform an index. Do you want a steady return? We've seen ARB funds that do 50% a year. But a basket of active managers, like last year, instead of Bitcoin's 1,400% could do 3,800%. So it just depends on where do you think Bitcoin is going. Are you directional or not?
Right, and it's a shifting, there are different market paradigms in which certain strategies work better, and that's where a diversified portfolio works well. Do you believe in that? I mean, you do not trade the cryptos, you trade the ICOs, did I get that right? Still not.
Look, we trade everything. I am highly opportunistic. So the answer for me...
That's right, you're the greed guy. Sorry.
Well, of course, look, people are like, what strategies do you do? I'm like, well, what do I think makes us money? And then we go do that. And that's been everything from event-driven to arbitrage to ICO investment, although there we're highly selective. It's in case we see opportunity, we take it. So I can walk back over time and be like, here's why I've made these trades. Here's the things I think about today. But it's almost challenging for me when I hear people go, oh, you want 15% in this bucket and 30% this bucket and this bucket, because that's how we started our fund, right? Like, and I've been playing this space for a long time, but what we rapidly realized was by prematurely rebalancing and by forcing ourselves into silos of investment capital, while that might have worked amazingly with traditional investment theses, it meant that we were leaving so much money off of the table, and that just felt silly to me. So we decided to stop doing that and let our clients know that, and the performance has been pretty solid ever since.
Yeah, sounds great. Do you invest anything in mining?
Not at all.
Not at all, okay.
Yeah, I mean, so yeah, it's...
Cheaper to buy them.
It's
and that's
cheaper to buy
also
'em.
part of it. It's not our expertise, right? Like I would rather pick the right coin and go, yes, that makes sense. I think that's going to pop and invest some money in there than set up mining rigs in a data center. There's other people that happily will do that.
Right, but there is a right way to do mining. Mining, in a way, I mean, basically mining got a big hit because they were using energy that could be used for something else to help nations, to help people, basically work. So there was a lot of wasted energy that could be put to something else. But I think that's starting to change now. Are the miners out there trying to become more sort of environmentally aware and going to places like Iceland where they can basically stick a steel tube into the ground and then get heat without having to generate heat through oil or gas or anything else? Is that, do you see that as a movement? Do you see?
I think around December or so, there's been a lot of people starting to realize how much power the networks are actually drawing. Okay, so basically, I
Just hold it a little closer.
Okay.
There you go.
All right. So yes, I do see that there's a lot of movement where, especially since people started realizing where the power is coming from, that they're trying to start being conscious about it. And as we talk about it, things start to get in the news. People will hopefully become more aware. It's not necessarily a huge issue right now, but it will become an issue, especially if blockchain does what we all want it to do, and continue to revolutionize the world. But at the same time, we can't, worry about the consequences of where the power and stuff's coming from. Hopefully, there's a lot of technology that'll come out, like proof of stake and consensus and a few other things that will help fix this over the years. But we're not there yet. This is going to take quite a while, and I don't see Bitcoin ever going anything away from proof of work, because that is supposed to be the world's store of money, and nobody's going to necessarily trust something that is not hardly secured, and it is hardly secured by using data.
Okay, but really your concept and the way you're exercising these beliefs is you've got a facility, you're building it in Research Triangle Park, and it's wind-driven, it's solar-driven, and it also educates individuals through online classrooms, physical classrooms, as well as YouTube classes in order to help people begin to do their own mining. And this is important because, as Buffett says, you'll never be rich unless you can make money while you're sleeping. And that's in essence what you're providing here. Was Buffett a guiding light for you?
No, not so much, but but that is very true. I call them, actually, instead of miners, we call them robots without arms that are working for us. My grandfather is 90 years old, actually calls them chickens that lay golden eggs. So he literally calls me like once a week, hey, the chicken laid a golden egg this week, or whatever. But definitely.
Okay. Tom,
So, just in case anybody missed the Warren Buffett things, last week or so he called Bitcoin rat poison squared. So deriving any kind of investment thesis for crypto or Bitcoin from Warren is
and the beauty of
probably
that is
unlikely.
on that same bandwagon, obviously, is Nouriel Roubini, who's the
Sure.
doctor of doom, and he has taken the same stance. And you know why I have to say that? That's what makes a market.
Sure. No, but one thing I think that they're missing is they're looking at it through the lens that they've always kind of assessed financial markets. If you look at Bitcoin as a store of value, a stable store of value, in the United States, we have a stable financial system. We have regulators that I think are going to start being much more active in this space. But if you're in Venezuela or another country where your local currency is not as reliable, then Bitcoin becomes much more, Bitcoin's value proposition becomes much more readily apparent to those folks. And we're starting to see that in countries that have, a shakier situation. There's been a little bit of a flight to Bitcoin. And that's really the only cryptocurrency where that use case is starting to develop, because it is by far the most secure, battle-hardened over the last 9 years. So.
Okay. All right, great. Well, we are going to start thinking about wrapping up this incredible panel, which is probably the best panel of today and tomorrow, looking into the future. But we're going to finish it up with the lightning round. Does everybody want to play the lightning round? Yes, you do. Okay,
Layer
let's get
2
started.
protocol.
Question number one, and we'll start over here with Joe. The price of Bitcoin. I mean, what panel would not be complete without getting some estimates on what people think the price of Bitcoin is going to be? Because I'll bet most of you have some Bitcoin in your online Coinbase account. So the price of Bitcoin, let's say by December 31st, so by the end of this year, will it be less than 10K, so around where we are right now, in other words, no movement? Is it going to double in price to around 20,000? This is, again, by the end of the year. Or do you think it's going to be above 30,000? I mean, there have been a couple of people who have said, Thomas Lee, who's a great prognosticator, is the only actual analyst on the street that predicts prices of Bitcoin. He's been quite accurate in the past. He says it's going to 64,000 in 2021. Obviously, Tim Draper says it's going to be 225,000 by 2020. But is it A, less than 10K, and we're going to go down the line, less than 10K, around 20K, so in other words, will it double by the end of the year, or is it going to triple by the end of the year? Joe?
20K, and then sell Q1 has been down every year for the last 4 years.
Above 10K.
Yeah, 20 for sure.
20.
Agreed. 20K.
20K.
Yeah, I have to agree. At least 20 or plus.
20. You're mining, so you better believe that.
Well, you've got to look at the underlying profitability of it. Is really what it boils down to. If you look
Okay.
at each machine and how much they can produce, so as an example, back in December, and if you look at the profitability, you could have looked at it from an analytics perspective and known it was going to crash because each machine was making $70 a day. That's unsustainable, where the historic was $15 a day. So you can look at these historical mining profitability and be able to get an idea of what it might do. But the one thing we can't judge is the adaptation of the globe. So as the people, the masses start buying and getting in, that's a different metrics that you're just going to have to guess on. Okay. And one thing, by you picking the end of the year, this is actually a very crucial time because a lot of people use Bitcoin to move money around the world. So if you look historically, Bitcoin generally goes up around the end of the year and falls at the first of the year because people are moving money out of certain countries and then they're liquidating it to purchase land, businesses, and other things. So there's a lot, if you really start to understand the underlining of it, the supply and the demand, you can really start to get a better idea of where it's going.
I thought that was valuable, but this is not called the explanation round. It's called the lightning round. Let's move on.
I think we're one of the few funds that will tell you we really don't care about the price in such a short term. We look at things in terms of like 5 to 10 years down the line, but 30K and up. Let's go for
30K and up. Oh, that's our first 30K and up. Yeah, bull run. That should be you.
I'd agree with that, presuming that we solve the qualified custodian problem, because this is what a lot of people don't realize. If your fund is managing more than 150 million AUM, it gets very hard to hold these cryptocurrency assets without legally a QC. A lot of that is very rapidly happening, and that's the number one barrier stopping so much institutional money coming into this space.
This is also not the if, then this round.
Well, how else
It's
do you
the
expect to make
lightning
investment
round.
decisions?
Okay, this one's pretty easy, guys. Will we have a bit license, a new bit license that may work for New York City by the end of the year? Just give me a yes or no. 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 Oh my God. Anybody here from the government? No. All right, lots of no's. No. No.
I'm really just learning about it, but I have a feeling.
That's a no.
I'm a recovering lawyer. Absolutely not.
Oh, well, we heard it from somebody with some experience. Okay, and
No.
no, that's a no. Okay, I'll say yes. Okay, now one of the big moves, everybody's asking this. When are the institutional money coming in? When is the institutional coming in? Are we going to get an institutional breakthrough, and will the herd follow through that hole in the wall called institutional money investing in the space? Let's say in 2000, and again, let's do it this year. Is it going to happen this year, next year, or in 2 years?
We'll have a large one of note until next year.
A large one of note, so there'll be a breakthrough in 2018, and then the herd will follow in 2019. So that's not very far away. You agree?
In our OTC business, there is just an overabundance of institutional quality buyers right now, and very, very difficult.
They're like barbarians at the gate trying to break through?
Right now, trying to get as much coin as they can kind of into their buy and hold strategies right now. So it's I'm going to say that this is the first wave of real institutional
Okay.
money that's kind of coming
In 2018.
Yeah.
Okay, so in first wave. Okay, so we got breakthroughs, waves,
Significant increases this year.
significant increases. Okay, so everybody's saying that we're basically breaking through, and the big year is going to be next year. Same.
Just real quick.
Oh, Jesus.
It depends how you define it, though. In 2016, I helped Fidelity Investments spool up a Bitcoin and Ethereum mining operation, right? Goldman
Yeah.
Sachs talks about a cryptocurrency trading desk that's only going to do paper trading, the options and derivatives, whatnot. But it depends how you define institutions coming into the space. I think you could say they're here, and it's in stealth mode.
It's here in stealth mode. Oh, that's a good answer. A little long, but
Yeah, I'd largely agree. I think it's largely going to be this year because I see a lot of those regulations and the QC stuff I mentioned being solved.
Okay, everybody. So you heard it here first. It's going to, institutional money will flow in 2018. Get ready because that's going to change everything. And it's going to make this a stronger, more viable opportunity for everyone. One more thing to close out, since we are here during the week of the largest Bitcoin cryptocurrency event called Consensus. Consensus, up or down? How was it? Oh! 2 thumbs up. Sideways and up. Hedging your bets, good. Up.
It's all about the conversations.
So not about the presentations and not about the logistics either, or not about the omelets at breakfast. Well, thank you very much, everyone. I hope that was a productive panel, and I'm going to hand it off to our manager. Great job organizing. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you to the panelists. Really exceptional. The best panelists of the entire conference. Thank you very much.